Hey, what's happening everybody? Welcome back yet to a brand new video. In today's video, I want to talk about how your disputes can be considered frivolous. So when you're filing complaints or disputes against the credit bureaus, there are instances where the credit bureaus may simply say like the information that you filed is number one, frivolous, and number two, it has no substance, and number three, it doesn't seem like you are the one who filed that information request or change request or deletion request. So for that specific reason, there's a series of things that we need to consider. And as to why your accounts may be considered frivolous as to your dispute campaigns, and what are some of the strategies to ensure that you follow the mechanism to avoid being labeled frivolous. This is an issue that is an ongoing concern for a lot of consumers out there who are attempting to fix their personal credit. So if you're here watching this channel or learning about personal credit and are trying to get your credit fixed, the first step is knowing some of the steps that may hinder your ability to be progressively moving forward, especially when it comes to credit repair or credit reporting organizations, essentially using stall tactics and things that are injurious to your ability to get the outcomes that you're looking for. So for that reason, this is the video that I wanted to create for you guys today. So let's get started on today's topic. So when it comes to your credit repair campaigns, there are many reasons as to why the credit bureaus may label your disputes as frivolous. There are thousands of reasons, and any little thing that doesn't look right to the credit bureau, specifically on the Oscar side, may push that credit dispute verification process into a frivolous dispute mechanism. So let's talk about the three reasons as to why, the top three that is, as to why your disputes may be considered frivolous. So the first reason of the three as to why your disputes may be considered frivolous is because you're filing disputes on the same account way too frequently. A good example of this is if you're doing credit repair and you're attempting to fix your personal credit and you're attempting to go through that campaign process, a lot of times and oftentimes what happens is we tend to look at the information mechanism of how we study our credit reports. We list all the negative items, the account information, the number, and then we just continuously send the same disputes over and over again. You know, a lot of people say that, hey, if you're not getting the results that you're looking for, and if you're not getting the outcomes, just file your disputes, and you continue doing so, and you continue doing it on a very consistent basis, and hopefully based on that specific process, you get the outcomes that you're looking for, you'll get the best resolution. The reality is that is actually a big death trap, specifically when it comes to your credit repair campaign process. If you continue filing the same thing over and over again, the same information, nothing changed on that letter, and you're doing it again and again based on the same account types, what's going to happen is the credit bureaus may simply say, yeah, this right here is exactly why this is considered frivolous. So you want to be avoiding that trap. The point number two of the three of why your disputes may be considered frivolous is due to the fact that you really haven't asked anything specific with your dispute process. See, a lot of people say the information is inaccurate and they're listing out a section 609, 604, 603, whatever the case, and they're just using a baseline FCRA dispute letter and sending their credit disputes over to the bureaus. The problem with that is there's not really any specificity to that actual dispute process and campaign. So specificity means that you have to understand exactly what you are about that specific item that is inaccurate. Is it listed wrong? Information is missing? Are the dates non-congruent with the three credit bureaus? Is there certain things that don't add up? The balances don't make sense. Are the payment history and the recordings of that payment grid not logically adding up, right? There's hundreds of different reasons as to why that information shouldn't be reporting in the first place. Non-compliance, for example. But the thing is, if you're just filing a dispute regularly stating that, hey, look, this information is inaccurate, I want to get it removed, and this is why I want to make sure that we get that negative item off, and I'm disputing that, not being specific enough can actually cause your disputes to be labeled frivolous, believe it or not. And that is a mechanism and a tool the credit bureaus have used time and time again. It's a time-tested tool for them to successfully stall the ability to give you the results that you're looking for. So you absolutely need to be careful with that. And of course, our third and final point as to why your disputes may be considered frivolous is the fact that the credit bureaus look at your dispute as an unreasonable attempt to get an investigation. So how do we identify what is unreasonable? How do we identify that this attempt itself is not going to help you, or the credit bureaus really look into the investigative process? Well, the first thing I said is you're filing disputes with the same account type way too many times, way too frequently. That's actually quite damaging. The second thing is you're not very specific. Specificity is very critical when it comes to dispute resolution. So with those two things alone, The third point can be an automatic, which is, hey, what you're asking for us to do is extremely unreasonable, and therefore I don't think we are able to help you with your dispute resolution at this time. So again, make sure that the first is respected, that you're not going crazy with the same information, the same letter type, the same account information, and just repeating the process again and again, because that itself is a rhyme to reason to the credit bureaus for them to literally stop investigating your profile. Number two, make sure that you're as specific as possible. Specificity is critical to your credit repair success. So you absolutely need to do your very best to ensure that you're doing that and you're following that flow to get the results that you're aspiring to get. So that's the first mechanism as to why your disputes may be considered frivolous. More specifically, the 3 reasons as to why your disputes may be considered frivolous. Let's move on to point number 2. So here's the thing. A lot of credit bureaus will say your disputes are frivolous, and obviously you know the top 3 reasons, but what do you do when that's the case? What do you do when you get a letter from the credit reporting agency stating that, hey, look, we respect the fact that you're trying to dispute your negative items, but the unfortunate thing here is that we deem your dispute process or whatever you're attempting to do here as frivolous. So what you need to do from that perspective is you need to know exactly what you've done, analyze the flow and the past of what you've done, including and not limited to exactly what your dispute process looked like, how long it took for you to dispute the information, what information was included during a dispute resolution, and what were you seeking as a result or outcome. If a simple regular letter with like, hey, I'm requesting this information to be deleted was the only thing that was there with no specificity, and you've done it multiple times, then obviously we talked about the trap of being considered frivolous and the top 3 reasons as to why. What you want to do is you want to do complete opposite that. The first thing you absolutely need to do is call the credit reporting agencies, and you need to stop any type of ongoing dispute processes, any commentaries, notes, activity logs, and so on and so forth. And that's the first step. You have to pick up the phone, call the credit reporting agencies, and call them to state that you are no longer disputing any type of negative information. The second step from that perspective, once you have a clean slate and the commentaries and activity logs have been purged and cleared off your records, is to attempt another dispute process, but even more effectively so, which means you need to understand on how to audit and explain yourself the specific reasons as to why you're disputing those negative accounts on your credit reports. If you don't have the training or the understanding or the know-it-all on how to do this effectively, I encourage you guys to go through the course that I've designed for you to be as specific and as thorough as possible. It's called the Ultimate Personal Credit Mastery. You'll find that in the description and of course in the comment section of this video. So I encourage you guys to check it out if you're learning or if you're attempting to learn credit repair at a more elevated perspective with clear understanding of what to do. And of course the best mechanism out there, bar none, in terms of understanding compliance and the rules of auditing your credit reports. But moving on, understand exactly what you need to do, be specific, counterbalance everything that you've done in the past to ensure that there is not going to be any type of hindrance or obstacles in your ability to create success in your credit repair campaigns. And the only way to do that is to reset the clock and of course study the previous patterns that you've undergone to ensure that those mistakes are not being repeated again and again. So that's our second point. Let's move on to our third and final point on being considered a frivolous dispute. So let's assume you reset the clock, you guys have done your dispute resolutions, you requested information that is very specific, and yet nothing has been resolved yet. In this specific instance, what you guys really need to deep dive into is setting up a litigation package. This is what we call the pre-litigation setup. The reason why this is so critical and crucial to your ability to create success in credit repair is because the pre-litigation setup is a mechanism in which you put together infrastructure with a very idealistic impact that you've created on the resolution of your credit repair campaign, highlighting and activity logs and journaling of your entries in terms of who you spoke to, when the certified mail was sent out, when did they receive it, that specific date stamp, time stamp, and what you've requested the credit bureaus to look into and how they've responded to you. This type of information is a collection of evidence that is required for you to present it in court in case you have to sue the bureaus to get the outcome and resolution or injunctive relief in that case to ensure that those negative items stay off. But before you proceed through all that pre-litigation structure, the biggest thing I would encourage you guys to do is to nudge the creditors to ensure that they actually did receive a standardized ACDV form from the credit bureaus. A lot of times the creditors themselves haven't really gotten detailed impact of information to make the decisive decision to ensure that the information is reporting compliantly. And that happens when the credit bureaus fail to do their part on sending over the investigative reports to the creditors themselves. So what happened is in 2015 in the state of New York through the Attorney General's office and a series of credit bureaus and of course the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau sat down together. In this discussion and sit down, there was a clear determination and outcome of what were going to happen going forward. Part of that is the new ACDV form, which is the investigative document form and the data form that is sent to the creditors when it comes through a process of investigation, is to be able to attach an image attachment. Part of that image attachment is any type of evidentiary documentation that you've collected, any type of results or outcomes that you're looking for the creditors to look into when they're investigating. All that information should be included in the dispute with the credit bureaus. Here's the problem. In most instances, the creditors never get that entire document set. They don't get the attachments, and therefore it's just a very generic EOSC or standardized templated investigation. That is a failure, and that is a breach to the actual contract of the FCRA. So your duty is to ensure that you nudge the creditor and ask them if the credit bureaus actually started to communicate with them and if any attachments or evidentiary documentation were sent to them. And that is a reason why you need to start asking them through writing. And once you have evidence that the creditors say, no, we have not received anything, you can actually pin one another or each other against themselves to ensure that you get the best type of outcome and maximum outcome. But that itself is evidence that the credit bureaus have not conducted the investigation properly and have not followed protocol of the new ACTV form mechanism as per EOSC compliance. So I just wanted to give you guys a breakdown of exactly why your disputes may be considered frivolous, why you should consider restructuring your campaigns, especially when it comes to disputing negative information of your credit reports. And I need you guys to really study the patterns of how to audit your credit reports properly. And this is why I've designed the course, guys. I wanted to do this so that you can understand exactly how to investigate negative items properly, how to list out your documentation, and understand the laws that govern compliance so that you can do it ethically, but also at the same to ensure that you're preserving the maximum outcome when it comes to your credit repair campaigns. I hope you guys enjoyed this video today, and if you did, don't forget to smash that thumbs up button. Don't forget to share this video with those who are struggling with their credit repair journey, or perhaps need to listen to this to get some sort of advice on how to move forward in a very successful way. And with that said, this is definitely your guided mentor, and I'll definitely catch you guys on the next video. Bye for now.